Hello, baseball lovers. So, we have a great segment here. We have been sharing personal stories of baseball fandom. I've been sharing mine on a few episodes. We've shared stories from our listeners and followers on our Facebook page about their fandom and how they grew to love the game of baseball. So, we have a special guest today, Mike Wilson, who is here to share his own story of baseball, and it's a great one. I've already talked to Mike. Mike is a retired investment professional. He's a writer and lecturer, serves as the senior advisor and board member to various organizations globally. Mike has lived and worked around the world for the past 35 years. Mike, I'm assuming you started when you were about 5, so you're probably about 40.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
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 He's a former athlete of modest achievement, Mike says. He is an all sports fan globally. He has particular allegiances to the Boston Red Sox. I hope I get this right. The Tokyo Yakult Swallows,
Very good.
the Brentford Bees of the EPL, and the University of Michigan and Boston College Athletics. So,
That's
Mike has actually written a book, and we're going to talk about that as we go along. Mike wrote a book about Michigan baseball. It's called Wolverine Diamonds: A Year in the Life of Michigan Baseball. And we're going to delve into that, of course, Mike, and get some thoughts on that. But to kind of kick us off, Mike, was there anything you wanted to add to that bio? It sounds like you are well traveled and very experienced.
um no, I think since I probably wrote that bio for the book, there's not much I'll add. So
Okay. All right.
I think
Yeah,
it's accurate. I hope it is.
I think so. It sounds great. It sounds great. All right. So we're going to kick this off, Mike, with a couple of questions, really just about, your roots as a baseball fan. So I'm going to kind of give you a double question here to start. What first drew you to baseball? And you can add to that the Red Sox in particular.
Hmm.
And then is there an early memory or memories that really shaped your love of the game kind of to go along with that?
Yeah, good questions. I'd probably have to attribute my initial love to baseball to two older brothers, one of whom played college ball, and beyond that, to my father, who was a baseball and hockey star back in the late 30s, early 40s at Boston College before going into World War II. So I guess I kind of inherited it, and it caught me pretty early, and it still got me. Um, and I grew up and played the Little League and Babe Ruth League here in high school, and had the chance to play a little bit early college, but it was too damn cold here in the Northeast, so I never did. But um, so yeah, I've been a diehard baseball fan, but I played basketball and football and other sports too. But baseball has really been number one for a long time. Um, to your second question, anything that really caught me? I don't know. I think, and I say this with hopefully some humility. I think I was lucky because I had older people training me from the time I was 3 or 4, and I was pretty good early,
Yeah.
relative to peers. So, I mean, back in the day, I got to play on all-star teams around New England and up into Canada and places like that when there were no traveling teams or any of that stuff. Um, so I think some early abilities and recognition probably got me going young. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can see that. So, being a Red Sox fan, Mike, I
Mm.
do have to ask. Well, a couple things. Obviously, you've lived through part of the drought, and
Yeah.
then obviously you lived through 1986,
Yep.
and then you got to see the best part of it, the 2000s and into the 2010s.
Yeah.
So, how did being a Red Sox fan influence your perspective on hope, heartbreak, and redemption in the world of sports?
Yeah, it teaches you life lessons, is what it does. And I would have to say, not showing my age, but while some of those seasons you mentioned were great, probably the greatest season ever for me was 1967, The Impossible Dream. And I won't do this to you, but I could actually recite the words to a baseball album that came out after it with Ken Coleman, the Red Sox announcer, as the
Nice.
moderator. Um, I think 67, when I was very young, and the Red Sox were, of course, really bad teams before that. I'd go to Fenway, I remember in the early 60s, and in September, and they'd be playing playing the Cleveland Indians, not the Guardians, the Indians at the time, and there'd be 2,500 people in Fenway. You know, it was empty. But '67 really turned it around. It was a great pennant race, as you might recall, 4 teams into the last weekend. And I got to go see Bob Gibson pitch twice in the World Series.
Man.
And I think that really, actually, to be honest, turned around baseball in Boston. And to this day, you know, Fenway is still a great place to go and thriving and big crowds and all that. But '67 is what really got it going, I think.
I think you just made a ton of our listeners and Facebook page followers very jealous that you saw Bob Gibson pitch in two games. That
I,
he is. I can post about Bob Gibson, Mike, and it just gets amazing engagement. Everybody loves Bob Gibson. It's
well, I
unbelievable.
saw him hit, I believe, too. I'm testing my memory. I think he had a home run in Game 7 also, as well as pitching the victory.
Yeah,
But you know, I mean, he always pitched complete games. He was the best. So
he
yeah.
was. Yeah, we had a post not long ago about what Gibson would do playing in these times where the bat flip is such a popular
Oh,
popular thing.
chin music all the time.
Yes,
Yeah.
I could see some guys dusting off.
I tell you, if I was a bit of a pitcher as well as a shortstop, and um, I'd have to say I would I'd probably get thrown out of games these days, but I would throw high and tight if anyone did that to me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. There's probably a lot of guys from that era that wouldn't appreciate some of
Yeah.
the stuff that goes on now. Mike, were you overseas during any of the Red Sox runs recently in the 2000s during the World
I
Series?
was, yeah, for most of them, to be honest. I was there. I was overseas full time from '99 until 2018.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
and remember, this was prior to the days of streaming and stuff. So, to the extent we got any baseball games on TV, they would come on at midnight or 1 in the morning in London or in Tokyo. You know, it'd be 12 hours difference. You'd have them for breakfast. So,
Yeah.
there were a lot of 4 a.m. ninth innings I was watching in London during some World Series, and it was well worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, were you able to see the moment that they clinched in '04? Were you able to actually see that?
I coincidentally, I just happened to be in Boston at that time, back in the States. So
Nice.
I did get to see it, and you know, there were lots of people like myself visiting cemeteries around New England, telling their ancestors what miraculous thing just happened. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's fantastic. I was checking your memory, by the way, Mike. I always have Baseball Reference pulled up. Bob Gibson did indeed hit a home run in Game 7 off Jim Lonborg in the fifth inning. So,
I think it was to
well
center
done.
field too. I think, which is a big shot in Fenway.
Yeah, yeah, that's fantastic. So just so you know, your memory is still solid. Just so
There are days, I tell you, who knows?
awesome. So let's delve a little bit into the book. I want to learn more about the book. I've got it ordered. I'm going to read it. I
Okay.
want to delve into that. So tell us a little bit about the book you wrote about Michigan baseball. You know, where the inspiration to do that came from and what that experience was like.
Sure. Um, you know, I say to people sometimes that I could write a book about making this book. Um, to give you the short story background, I had returned to the States, and I still spend a fair amount of my time in London. It's kind of home for me after all the years, and I became a dual citizen actually. Um, but I came back to the States and finished my full-time career and was doing kind of board work and, you know, a portfolio of a little bit of other stuff. And I quickly realized that the one thing I was missing was sports. It's so important to me. And I reached out to, for whatever reason, to the University of Michigan baseball coach, Eric Bakich, who's now the coach at Clemson. And he's a fantastic coach. And I didn't know him, but I had spent a lot of time with, I didn't go to University of Michigan, but family members had. And I admired their program and the fact that they're really student athletes. They have to go to class, etc. So I reached out and I had this idea. I did some research on University of Michigan baseball, and there had been a few books written about it, but not many. And really they just featured on one or two individuals. And unlike football and basketball and hockey, other where there are millions of books. So I wanted to write something different. So I reached out to Eric Bakich. As it turned out, he liked the idea, but was just leaving. The new coach came in. So long story short, I was out in Ann Arbor on September of 2022, I guess it was, and at a football game, wandered down to the baseball stadium. Coach, I was the only one not in a uniform in the stadium. The coach looked over at me, thought I was a scout. We started chatting, told him my idea about writing a book about the life in the world of, college athletes today at a elite university, elite program, and he was intrigued. Tracy Smith is the coach's name, who's become a very good friend. They kind of adopted me after writing the book. Then I walked in on the president, new president. I just walked into his office. He was of Japanese ethnicity, Santa Ono. And so having lived in Japan, I knew everybody's a baseball fan. And he loved my idea. And when I told him that if the book sold any 2 or 3 copies, I'd give them all the proceeds. This was a passion play.
Yeah.
So that's how the book came about. And I basically spent a year kind of off and on flying into Ann Arbor, going on road trips with them to Ohio State and other places, and writing a book that is really kind of a feel-good book. I would never write anything or say anything negative about kids.
Yeah.
So this is, I think Tracy probably uses this for recruiting the book, but it's a real short thing because I'm not a professional writer. At some point, I just wanted to get it over with, but
Right.
I wanted to tell the story of today's college athletes, what they go through, and it was a fun experience for me. It will win no Pulitzer Prizes, but it was written for the kids and it was written for their families, which if you read it, you'll see. And all of the pictures, there's about 70 pictures in the book, were taken on my iPhone. And the funny part too is that my editor, who may edit my next book, is based in London, and he's a brilliant guy, but he's a cricketer, so he knew nothing about baseball.
Right.
And so the back and forth between us, he was trying to figure out what the hell I was talking about. It was a lot of fun, and his wife is an artist, and she ended up helping with the art in the book. So, bottom line, it was a great experience, and it's a good way to lose money, which. But I was able. It's actually sold quite a bit around the world. I think because Michigan is the biggest living alumni base globally, and I'll get reports that a book was sold yesterday in Tokyo or in New Zealand or whatever, and I'm sure it's just alumni. But yeah, it's on Amazon. It's in the bookstores in Ann Arbor, and it was a lot of fun. And it's absolute proof that anybody can write a book if I can. So.
Well, it gives us all hope, Mike. Thanks. Yeah, I'm going to post the link on our page for those of you listening, especially I would imagine out of our followers, we have some Michigan alumni. We have a lot of Detroit Tiger fans, so I'm sure there's some Michigan alumni. And you mentioned you're working potentially on another book, correct? You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I am. Thanks. It's one of those, we'll see if it ever comes to fruition. It's something I've been thinking about for a few years that I kind of lived, and living is different than visiting, trust me, as we all know. I lived and worked and experienced, other cultures for 35 years, 20 plus on the ground, both in Europe and Asia. And the book would be about a handful of representative countries' markets for baseball. Some established, like Japan, some fledgling, like Tanzania, where I'm going tomorrow.
Yeah.
San Marino, part of in Italy or adjacent to Italy. Maybe Ireland, places where the game is really just kind of coming to the fore. I saw the Olympics in Sydney back in 2000, and they had baseball there, and there's certainly a great following in Australia and South Africa. So it would basically be a look at what baseball means to people through their eyes, through the fans and the players' eyes in different markets, and also comparing it a bit to truly global games like soccer, or as they'd say football, F1 racing, cricket, games like this that are massive globally, and maybe having some commentary about what more baseball could do. It's I follow my team, the Yakult Swallows, you mentioned earlier. Good pronunciation. I follow them religiously as well. There's the Red Sox in Tokyo. So if I can get the right contacts that make it worthwhile my getting back on the plane to some of these places, then I'll proceed with the book. I've done my research. I've talked to other authors that have written kind of surveys about baseball in different countries. This would not be that. This would be unique. It would be today, contemporary, through the eyes of the fans and the players. And as you know, I mean, going to a baseball game in Tokyo is like going to a college football game.
Yeah.
It's a whole different animal.
Very different. Yeah.
And certainly, I was down in the DR last Thanksgiving with Michigan baseball, and you go to a professional game down there. It's a whole different wild experience, and it's different, but it's great. So that's kind of what the book would be about.
Sounds amazing. Sounds fantastic. I look forward to seeing that hopefully come to fruition, and you don't pull your hair out.
Hopefully in my lifetime. Yeah, if I can get the right contacts, MLB. I've been talking for a while with a good guy there, and he might be able to help me and some others. So we'll see.
Awesome. That kind of segues great into. Well, first of all, it reminded me that one of my admins yesterday realized that we posted about it, that this is the first major league season in history to both begin and end outside of the United States. So
I saw your post.
Yeah, in Toronto. So that's pretty cool. We'll definitely get your thoughts. By the way, I'd be remiss not to ask you about the current World Series that is going on as we record this. But going back to kind of that global perspective, Mike, do you think baseball translates well across cultures? And what parts of it are universal, and what parts do you think are uniquely American?
Yeah, the answer to the first question is yes. I do think it translates well across cultures, but it takes work. It's a very confusing game to most people.
Yeah.
And just as other games around the world can be confusing to us here in the States. So I think it does translate well. I think to many Brits, for example, it's very slow. All this stopping between innings and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And I try to tell them how the game has been speeded up now. It's a lot better than it used to be.
Yes.
But I think they like the excitement. A lot of Brits wish we had cheerleaders in baseball like they do in football, because the NFL goes to London and half of the Brits are just watching the cheerleaders.
Yeah.
But of course, they do have cheerleaders in Japan if you go to a baseball game.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
So it translates well. And the truth is, I actually play for a cricket team just outside London, the village of Stebbing. And we did a book signing there last year. Nice. The ladies' book club of Stebbing. I don't think they had any idea what baseball was, but they loved hearing stories about writing the book. So they brought some books. The truth is, as someone who plays cricket, there are so many similarities between cricket and baseball, and in terms of positioning the players and throwing different types of pitches, etc. There's so many similarities. I personally think baseball is more difficult, but that's just my bias from growing up.
Yeah.
And the good thing is baseball is a lot quicker than a cricket match. So
I do know that much about cricket. They can last for days. Yeah, which just blows me away. Which we did have World Series Game 3 that seemed like it lasted for days.
It did.
Days ago, but yeah.
Did. But I'm glad that in the World Series, at least, that they don't have the 10th inning man on second base rule.
Agreed.
I'm more a traditionalist. I don't like that even in the regular season, never mind the World Series. But
yeah, agreed. I thought that would be short-lived, but apparently the majority of players like it. So if the players like it, then it's going to stick around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you on that. I am afraid after that game the other night that Manfred may say, maybe we have to institute that after like the 12th inning of a postseason game, but
possibly.
We'll
Yeah.
see. Hopefully he doesn't listen to this. I don't want to give him any.
Yeah. I'm sure he does.
I'm sure he does.
Uh, so, anyways, back to your
Yeah,
initial question. I think baseball does translate well. I think there's a lot of spade work that needs to be done. You may have seen earlier this year, of all groups in the world, the NPB, the Nippon Professional Baseball League, their commissioner came out talking about taking the Japanese game, which is very different from the U.S. It's much more of a bunting, hit and run, small ball kind of game,
yeah,
which I really, frankly, enjoy.
okay,
But they talked about taking the NPB kind of Japanese baseball outside of Japan, more globally. I don't know what that means, but I applaud them for that. And I think that MLB and company, while we hear good things about playing a game in Mexico or in, wherever in London, of course, there's a lot more spade work that has to be done because they're nowhere near, unfortunately, having the presence of soccer or
yeah,
F1 or cricket or others. So globally.
yeah. It's interesting you bring that up because my next question is literally, excuse me, literally, what do you think MLB could learn from Japan's approach to the game, or vice versa?
Yeah, good question. Um, I think that while I applaud MLB, they do some great things. There's no question. Um, I think the if you go to a game in Tokyo or in parts of Japan and see the amount of fan engagement,
Yeah,
I mean, these fans, baseball is religion in Japan.
yeah,
It's sumo and baseball. Pick one,
yeah,
both, and they don't have all the competing high level sports like the NFL and NBA, NHL that we have here. I think they could learn probably just by going and watching the fan engagement, I mean, these fans on off days, they'll go and practice their cheers together.
yeah,
It's like whole completely different. And similarly, like in the Dominican Republic, in the Caribbean, Cuba, and others, some of those areas, the the excitement, I won't say the kind of the Savannah banana stuff, but it's kind of getting towards that, which is people love it.
yeah,
And baseball certainly has a demographic challenge, I'd say. Um, and they could maybe look a little more seriously at what some of these groups are doing in other countries. And don't want to get into it, but the imminent lockout,
yes.
or walkout or whatever you want to call it, that lies over the head of MLB, it could be a death knell for years to come. I mean, the last one was horrific. Getting back fan engagement, they should be at the negotiating table today as we speak, not waiting for the 11th hour.
Great.
And I've got lots of inside information about that. But back to your question, yeah, I think they could learn a lot from the excitement, engagement, and bringing along those teenagers and 20 somethings and others with bands and all kinds of stuff. I'm sure they're trying, but in the other markets, they're succeeding.
Yeah, it's a different experience now for sure in an MLB game than when I was younger, but it still lacks something in that regard to what you're
Yeah,
talking about. And a lockout of any length would really set them back. And we're talking about, the nuclear option of, missing an entire season.
yeah,
A lot of bad rhetoric going on between the players, and Manfred and the owners. So hopefully it won't come to that, Mike. We won't
yeah.
spend too much time. Hopefully we.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, to your point earlier, though, the demographic issue, real quick, looking at we have 62,000 followers on our page, and the vast majority are between the ages of 40 and 55. So
There you
Facebook
go.
gives me those stats, and part of that is we do go for the nostalgic a lot, but
Yeah.
still, I think it speaks a lot to where baseball is.
Yeah, I mean, and I say these things kind of in those age brackets, but I
Yeah,
say these things as a traditionalist because there's nothing I like better than a 1-0, 2-1 game, with putting down the bunt in the eighth inning to bring across the winning run and that all that kinds of stuff. I mean,
yeah,
I really get into that and player positioning and everything else. but I also know that there's another side that can be added without taking away from that. So
Yeah, no, I grew up with, if you had a man on third with less than two out, you were going to get that guy home. I mean, that was the
absolutely,
focus, and now they're still swinging for the fences, even in that situation. So,
yeah,
and,
that
and
was
actually, to give them some credit, the Blue Jays are a little bit of a throwback. They hit
yeah,
for power, but they also put the bat on the ball, and they're kind
yeah,
of fun to watch. So,
yeah.
um, London fascinates me a little bit. We know how
Mm.
big baseball is in Japan, Mike, but tell us a little bit. I know the NFL has made a big push in London
Mhm,
recently.
mhm.
How do fans there? I mean, you mentioned it a little bit earlier in comparison to cricket, but is there any kind of MLB following for London? Or is it,
Yeah, there is, and there are watch parties around town in London and whatnot for games, and when the MLB has come and played, for example, out at Olympic Stadium, where they had the 2012 Olympics out in the East End of London, they've had huge crowds. I mean, granted, I'm guessing most of the attendees, people like me, were expats, Americans over there,
yeah,
wanted to see the Cardinals and the Cubs or whoever. Um, but yeah, there is a following for sure, and there's an MLB office in London, and I don't discredit the fact they're trying. Um, I just think if they want to get serious, there's a hell of a lot more they could do,
yeah,
and I'll give them free counsel on that too if they'd like.
yeah.
I've lived it and breathed it. Um, but there's a lot more they could do. They do. They are up against, of course, Premier League soccer and all the other soccer leagues and rugby and cricket and whatever. But um, that's no excuse. So
Right, right.
yeah,
I'm going to ask you a hard one here. I think this is a hard one, but I'm interested to see what you
okay.
say, Mike. So, if you could take a non-fan, non-baseball fan in London or Tokyo, and just show them one moment from MLB that captures why you love baseball,
Mm.
what would it be? And you can
You
have plenty of
know,
time to think about it, Mike.
yeah, one moment. That's hard. I would think about Kirk Gibson hitting the homer
Great
off of
choice.
Eckersley.
Yep.
Eckersley's a Red Sox boy. I hate to watch it, but it's something like that was just of
Yeah.
epic proportions. Things like that, kind of just send a chill up your spine. Yeah.
No, I think that's a great choice. That's one of the first memories I have of a really big World Series moment. I was 11. So that's
Mm.
one of the first World Series I really watched. Excellent choice. In my head, I was thinking actually about Carlton Fisk.
Oh yeah, Pudge waving it,
Yeah.
stay fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
foul
So
pole.
that
Of
would
course,
be
we
such a
of
bigger
course we
moment if they've
lost we
won. Yeah.
lost in that World Series, so I try
Yes.
not to remember that one. But yeah,
Yes. I was
the big
about to
red
say
machine. Yeah.
that would be much more in the top probably five plays if they had won the series. But
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we never want to talk about Bucky Dent in the playoff game. That's,
no, that name popped into my head, but I was
uh,
not going to go there.
no, Bucky F and Dent. We can't go there.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
right. Yeah.
As he's known, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is great stuff, Mike. Before we kind of hit a few rapid fire questions, um, I wanted to get your thoughts on the current World Series. Like I said, so as we record this for the audience, it is currently 3-2. Toronto has
Yep.
taken to some people, a surprising lead after winning the last two in LA. Have you been able to watch the games, Mike? And
I,
if so,
I,
what are your
I
thoughts?
have. I've watched most of them. Um, I've kind of crashed a couple times in the eighth inning. For better or worse, I missed the 18th inning.
Me
Um,
too.
but yeah, I've watched a lot of it, and I've been surprised. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I picked the Blue Jays in seven.
Wow.
May have been more of my I'm not anti-Dodgers. I wanted to see a new team win. I
I
wanted to
think
see
you're going to be right. If I had to predict here,
yeah,
I think that the Dodgers will win tomorrow, Friday night,
yeah.
and that Toronto will finish it at home. I mean, two great clubs. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
have to personally say that I cringe every time Mookie Betts comes up to play, thinking, "Gee, wouldn't he look good again in a Red Sox uniform?" But
Hey, Braves fan here and watching Freddie
yeah,
icing on the cake for his first ballot Hall of Fame resume as a Dodger hurts a little bit right here.
yeah,
It does.
yeah, I
I
hear
think
you.
I think I'd be remiss if I didn't wrap up the kind of overseas conversation with do you see a time, Mike, in the next, I don't know, say 15, 20 years where we do have a true quote unquote World Series between maybe the Japanese champion and the American champion, or if it spreads globally more than that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a real good question. And I've actually thought about that and talked to people about that and projected that, in 15 years, we may see you know, the South Korean Lions or the Tokyo Giants playing, some team in Santo Domingo for the World Series
Yeah.
with
Wow.
the U.S. team already having been eliminated.
Wow. Wouldn't that be something?
It would be. I mean, I hope there's a U.S. team in there, but
Right.
um,
Right.
you know, but that we could see, the brackets like that kind of across the world. And that would be great. I think um, I might be a pipe dreamer, but that I think that would be
Yeah.
fun. It would really show that the game has spread because it's in my mind the greatest game there is, and I want it to be in every household around the world.
Yeah, agreed. I think that would be fantastic. You've seen the popularity of the World Baseball Classic and how that's grown. So I think the appetite is there for sure.
Yeah, there's guys like Jim Small, who's a friend of mine at MLB. He's run the international the last probably 15 or 20 years. Um, Jim is the WBC's kind of been his baby, and all credit to guys like him who have really, as you say, really made it into something pretty special. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to get you out of here with a few
Okay.
just general baseball fun questions here, Mike.
Sure.
Favorite ballpark food, and then U.S. versus Japan food wise at the ballpark. Who's got the advantage?
Mm. Favorite food, it's a Fenway Frank at Fenway Park.
Yeah,
As long as somebody doesn't tell me someday what's actually in it.
right. Very
Um,
cool.
yeah,
Very cool.
give me a couple of dogs and a couple of beers and I'm good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't need the sushi. I don't need, all
Okay.
the other esoteric stuff,
Right.
um, or the fancy, European beers or anything. Just give me a couple Budweisers and a couple dogs. I'm good.
Awesome. So all that time overseas hasn't removed the American from you. I can see. That's
No,
fantastic.
I mean, you are what you are. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. That's awesome. Which
Hey,
player?
oh, you asked me also about favorite food, Japan.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, oh, I'm trying to think those little green, um, uh, little green beans, like, and you eat them like peanuts almost. One of your listeners will know. I'm just having a brain cramp.
Adamame. Something.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Edamame, kind of salty, and
Uh
I
huh.
might,
Yeah.
I might have to have another beer with them, and
Right.
that and the yakitori stuff, and is where I go. What's funny at baseball? I don't know if it's funny or not, but at baseball games in Japan, the amount of alcohol is,
Right.
they have teenagers walking around with plastic kegs on their back with a hose, and they'll come and fill up your cup,
Wow.
and others walking around with a belt with liquors in them. They'll make you drinks, and it's um it's a cultural experience.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That
Yeah.
sounds like it. We need to get on the ball here with that. Which player, Mike, past or present, would you most want to just sit down and share a beer with?
Ted Williams.
That was easy, right? I kind of figured that's probably going to be the answer. That
I
was
got I
easy.
got if you saw I can show you my office if you want to see this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll see
Yeah,
a lot. I
yeah.
don't know how this
Yeah.
works, but tell me if can you can you see some stuff on the wall?
Yes, we got you. I see
Okay,
some Red
so
Sox there. Yes.
some of my baseball past and present, and you'll see the number 9 of Ted right
Oh yeah.
there.
Yep.
Um,
Awesome. Awesome.
and here's a painting I had commissioned actually, that goes to a lot of my baseball and cricket interests,
Very cool.
in the U.S. and Japan and wherever. So here's
Very cool.
the shrine to my books over there. So
That's
um,
fantastic.
sorry to bore you with that, but yeah, Ted
No, no,
Williams.
that's cool.
To answer your question, I'd sit down and just listen to him talk about hitting. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I remember the All-Star game at Fenway where he came out and all the players were surrounding him, and
yeah,
it, Tony Gwynn and Ted Williams. And I thought, man, if you could just sit with those two guys and talk
yeah,
hitting, you
yeah.
might become one of the greatest baseball players of all time. If you had any talent and you listen to those two guys,
No, no,
I mean,
no question.
just
And
unbelievable.
my turn at bat, Ted Williams' book, and some of his other books on hitting are, just the Bible. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. I'd love to sit down with Hank Aaron.
Yeah.
My
And
hero.
Willie Mays too. I'd throw Willie Mays
Oh
in there
yeah,
too. Yeah,
absolutely,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
What's one baseball tradition that we have here that you wish the rest of the world would adopt, Mike?
Oh, that's a baseball tradition. Well, I think the seventh inning stretch is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. They don't do that in Japan.
I'm sorry.
They don't do that in Japan.
I don't remember, to be
Oh,
honest with you.
interesting.
They
Interesting.
may, but it's not jumping out at me.
If not, they need to.
I was probably down in the beer line or something. I missed it.
You're following the guy around who had the beer pack on his head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that just jumps out at me. I'd have to think a little more about what other traditions. I mean, I like spring training too.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
think
yeah.
certainly they do that in Japan. But uh, I have to give that a little bit more thought.
Yeah.
Good
Think
question.
about it. I got one that I don't like, and I don't know if they do this in Japan. I am not a fan of the wave.
No,
I'm not a fan of the wave.
no,
So
Mexican wave. No, no,
yeah, I'm there to watch a ball game. I
I
don't
don't
need to.
participate.
Awesome. We're on the same page.
Call me a curmudgeon, but
Yes. No,
it's like
I get
down in
accused of that.
front. I want to watch the game. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
please. And
Yeah.
please don't do it, especially when my team is trying to bat and they're in the background. I just don't do it.
It's a tradition I do like. It's very subtle, but usually the first time through the order, the teams when the batter comes up to the plate, they quite often they'll kind of tap their bat against the shin guard of the catcher,
Yeah.
and or just give a nod to the umpire.
Yeah.
It's very low key, usually. Whatever. I think that's pretty cool.
I agree. That is very
Just
cool.
saying, "Hey, how you doing? Glad we're out here."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yes, for sure. I've always thought it was cool. Like if the catcher takes one on the leg or the mask and the umpire
Oh
comes
yeah.
up, brush the plate off, give him some time. So,
Suddenly, the umpire has to walk out and hand the pitcher the ball, and
right,
then
right.
walk back and sweep the plate 11 times. Yeah.
Yes,
Cool. Yeah.
exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
very cool. All right, Mike. One last rapid fire question here. If you could bring one piece of Japanese baseball culture to the MLB, what would that be? Cheerleaders?
Yeah. No, I think one part of the game that I really appreciate, and sometimes it's false hustle, but the fact that players always run.
Yeah,
They're always hustling
yeah,
into the dugout, out of the dugout, on the base, everything. There is no let up, and part of that is a lot of it is culture,
yeah.
um, and certainly a lot of it is the way they train, which is, I've talked to MLB players that went to play in Japan. The amount of practice they do in Japan is quite a wake up call for a lot of the American players.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think the hustle, the in nowhere is it more evident than if any of your listeners has a chance. I'm sure many of them have probably already done it. Is go to the most fabulous baseball tournament I've ever experienced in the world, and that's the high school baseball tournament, the Koshien tournament in Japan,
okay,
every August. And it's kind of this round robin around the country, the biggest and smallest. It's like Hoosiers in basketball, all the state teams, they play each other, and then they do this 1 week at Koshien, and it's religion. It's not life or death. It's much more important than that.
right,
Uh,
right.
it's
Yeah,
really a cool experience.
that's
So I love that kind of seriousness and hustle and respect for the opponent that you
yeah,
see in baseball in Japan.
yeah. What are your thoughts, real quick, Mike? What do you think about Shohei? What are your thoughts in general on
I
Shohei
don't
Ohtani?
think people, as much as he is praised, I said this to someone the other night watching the game. I don't think people appreciate, even now,
Yeah,
how amazing he is.
yeah,
The talent, the the determination, the um, the respect he has for the game and the other players,
Yeah.
his attitude, the whole thing. I don't think, even to this day, I'm not sure people appreciate that. He goes out there and strikes out 10 and hits 3 home runs. I mean,
We haven't seen that.
people don't do that.
No, they
Not
don't.
no, not today. They
No,
don't. And
no.
I think he's just absolutely phenomenal. And it's not because I'm a fan of Japanese baseball. It just he's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we could talk baseball all day, Mike. I could do this all day. And one question leads, I got to ask this to follow up on that, and
Sure.
then we'll get you out of here.
No, sure.
With Shohei, I feel like there's this, and I guess what I'm asking is, would this happen in reverse in Japan? So if a American superstar went and played in Japan and did amazing things in Japan, would there be a segment of the Japanese fan base that just disliked him because he got attention and was American? Because I feel like there is a segment of the MLB fan base that's negative towards Shohei because of the attention he gets and
Really?
because he's from Japan.
I never thought of that. That's very interesting. I'm sure you're right.
We see it on the page. We see it
Yeah.
when we post something about Shohei. We see quite a
Really?
bit of negativity, and it's a little disheartening to be
Yeah,
honest.
that's a little unfortunate. To answer your question, would there be a segment in Japan? Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, there's been a lot written about how coaches and managers and umpires or whatever will historically over kind of shy away from the American player,
Interesting.
kind of nationalism, which is
Yeah.
ever present in Japan like it is everywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Um,
True.
so yeah, there would be for sure. That said, there's also been some American players. There was a catcher or no, a first baseman whose name's escaping me, um, who's a black guy from the States and went over, and he has been revered. He
Yeah.
played there a long time.
Yeah.
Um, and So unfortunately, I guess you're gonna get that kind of negativism or
Yeah.
um, just super nationalism, whatever you want to call it, everywhere. And it's
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
too bad people can't just appreciate these athletes for who they are.
It is absolutely it's unfortunate. But Mike, this has been fantastic. Great perspective, and we'd love to find out if you get that other book written, or if you find
Me
out
too.
some info that you'd like to share. We'd love to have you back. This has been amazing. I can't thank you enough for doing this.
I so appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun for me. And if any of your listeners want to follow up with anything, you can find me I'm on different social media play. The book's available on Amazon. All proceeds go to Michigan baseball. They don't go to me.
Awesome.
Yeah, and anything I can do, and people have ideas about, as I'm looking at this next prospect for our next global book, contacts in some of these far-flung places. I'd be all ears and welcome that, because I want to tie those down before I start jumping on planes. And it won't be about the U.S. market, by the way. There's been enough written here. So
I would say so. I
yeah.
agree. Yeah. Well,
Thank
we
you
look
for
forward to
having
that.
me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Mike. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Okay, take care.
You too, buddy.
Bye bye.